Cats understand you far better than you understand them. And that gap is exactly why so many people feel confused by their own pet. Most owners think their cat is unpredictable, moody, hard to read. But the truth is almost the opposite. Cats live by a quiet set of rules. And once you learn them, everything about your relationship starts to make sense. Here is what almost nobody realizes. Cats are not confusing creatures. They are incredibly consistent communicators. The problem is that we were never taught their language. So we keep missing the signals they send us every single day. Once you understand the rules they expect you to follow, you stop guessing and you start actually connecting. By the end of this video, you will never look at your cat the same way again. Let's start with the first rule. And it's one that trips up almost every new cat owner. Respect their personal space before you ask for affection. When you meet a cat for the first time, or even when you come home after a long day, your instinct is to reach out immediately. You want to pet them, scoop them up, show them love right away. But to a cat, that rush feels invasive. Cats are built to approach on their own terms. In the wild, a fast-moving object coming toward them signals danger, not affection. So when you lunge in for a cuddle, you're unintentionally triggering a stress response. Instead, let your cat come to you. Offer a hand, low and still. Let them sniff before anything else happens. Watch their body. A tail held upright with a soft curl at the tip usually means comfort. A tail low and swishing quickly usually means tension. Learning to read these small cues before you touch your cat builds a foundation of trust that pays off for years. This matters even more with cats who are naturally shy or who came from a difficult background. Picture this. A rescued cat spends her first 3 days under the couch, barely eating, barely moving. Her new owner starts to panic, thinking she's failing this animal somehow. But she isn't failing at all. Every quiet day without pressure is teaching that cat something powerful. This home is safe. Rushing the process, even with the best intentions, can set the relationship back weeks. Slowing down isn't a weakness. It's the fastest way to actually get where you're trying to go. This leads naturally into the second rule. Let them be the one who starts the conversation. Cats are far more social than people give them credit for. But they operate on a different clock than we do. A dog will run to greet you the second you walk in. A cat often waits, watches, decides when the moment is right. This isn't coldness. It's simply how feline relationships work. You'll notice this in small rituals. A gentle nose bump when you crouch down. A slow blink from across the room. These are invitations. And the best thing you can do is respond to them rather than force your own timing. When you let your cat initiate contact, you're speaking directly to their instincts. And they notice. Now here's a rule that changes everything once you truly absorb it. Never punish a cat for being a cat. Scratching furniture, climbing shelves, pouncing on your feet under a blanket. These behaviors frustrate owners constantly, but they aren't signs of a bad cat. They're hardwired instincts, tied to hunting, stretching, and territory marking. Punishing a cat for scratching doesn't stop the scratching. It only teaches the cat that you're unpredictable and possibly unsafe. The better approach is redirection. Give them a scratching post in a spot they already frequent. Offer a legitimate outlet for their hunting drive through play. Research on feline behavior consistently shows that positive reinforcement builds trust, while punishment increases anxiety and can even damage the human-animal bond. Work with their nature instead of against it, and the destructive behavior naturally fades. Which brings us to something cats care about deeply. Respect their daily rituals. Cats thrive on predictability in a way that might surprise you. The same feeding time each day. The same resting spots. The same general rhythm to your household. When that structure shifts constantly, cats can become anxious. even if nothing seems obviously wrong from your perspective. Think about it from their side. In a world where they can't control much, routine becomes their anchor. A consistent schedule tells them the environment is safe and stable. So if you want a calmer, more secure cat, protecting these small rituals matters more than almost any toy or treat you could buy. Even small disruptions register more than we assume. Moving a food bowl, rearranging furniture, shifting a feeding time by an hour. These can cause a temporary spike in stress behaviors, like hiding or over-grooming. None of this means you can never change anything in your home. It simply means that when change is necessary, giving your cat time to adjust matters just as much as the change itself. Now let's talk about something most people overlook entirely. Learn to read the tail before you read the face. Human faces carry most of our emotional information, so naturally we look at a cat's face first. But a cat's tail is often the fastest, most honest indicator of what they're feeling. A tail puffed out signals fear or aggression. A tail wrapped gently around their own body often signals contentment. A twitching tip during play can mean excitement building toward a pounce. Pair this with their ears and whiskers. Ears pinned back usually signal discomfort. Whiskers pushed forward often mean curiosity or alertness. No single signal tells the whole story on its own. It's the combination that reveals what your cat is truly experiencing in that moment. And learning to read all of it together turns guesswork into genuine understanding. By now, you've probably noticed something. None of these rules are really about obedience. They're about trust. Here's a rule that explains a lot of so-called bad behavior. Every cat needs territory they truly control. Imagine walking into your own home and realizing that every chair, every room, every quiet corner belongs to someone else. That's closer to how a cat without territory feels. Unlike dogs, cats don't just want space. They want ownership of that space. This is why vertical territory matters so much. Cat trees, shelves, window perches. These aren't luxuries. They give your cat a vantage point where they feel secure and in charge of their environment. Safe hiding spots matter just as much. A cat that has somewhere to retreat when overwhelmed is far less likely to act out from stress. Give them these choices, and you'll often see anxious or reactive behavior fade on its own, simply because their basic need for control has finally been met. This becomes especially important in multi-cat households. Without enough separate resources and territory, even cats that seem friendly can develop quiet tension that shows up as sudden aggression or avoidance. Giving each cat their own space to claim often solves conflicts that owners assume are simply personality clashes. Now for a rule that quietly changes how people see their cats forever. Don't mistake independence for a lack of love. Cats express affection in ways that are easy to miss if you're only looking for dog-like enthusiasm. Following you from room to room, sitting nearby while you work instead of demanding attention, a gentle headbutt against your hand or leg. These aren't small gestures. In feline communication, they're significant declarations of trust and comfort. Grooming is another one. A cat that licks your hand or hair is treating you the way they'd treat another cat in their social circle. And that slow blink we mentioned earlier, sometimes called a cat kiss, is called that for good reason. Quiet companionship, not constant interaction, is often exactly how a cat says, "I love you." Let's move to something that affects a cat's emotional health more than most owners realize. Play is more than entertainment. A cat's hunting instinct doesn't disappear just because they live indoors and get fed every day. That instinct still needs an outlet, or it can build into frustration and even redirected aggression toward you or other pets in the home. Good play mimics the full hunting sequence: stalk, chase, pounce, and then a satisfying catch. Interactive toys that move unpredictably work best because they engage that natural drive. And always end a session by letting your cat catch something, even if it's just the toy. Ending on that note of success closes the emotional loop and leaves them calm rather than wound up. A short burst of 10 to 15 minutes, once or twice a day, is usually enough to make a noticeable difference in a cat's overall temperament. Owners who add this small habit often report calmer evenings, fewer 3 a.m. zoomies, and noticeably less nipping or pouncing on hands and feet. It's a small investment of time, with an outsized emotional payoff. Now here's one of the most important rules on this entire list. Listen when they say enough. So many bites and scratches that owners describe as random aren't random at all. They follow a series of warning signs that were simply missed. A tail beginning to flick, ears rotating back, skin rippling along the back during petting. These are all early signals of overstimulation. And if they go unnoticed, a cat will escalate to a more direct message. The fix is simple, once you know what to look for. Watch for these cues during affection. Stop before your cat has to tell you a second time. Respecting these small boundaries does more for your relationship than almost anything else you can do, because it shows your cat that you actually listen. And finally, the rule that ties every other rule together. Trust is earned in hundreds of tiny moments. Cats don't trust you because you feed them. They trust you because you consistently prove that you're predictable. There is no single gesture that makes a cat suddenly adore you. It's not one perfect pet or one expensive toy. It's the accumulation of small, consistent choices. Respecting their space, letting them approach first, reading their signals correctly, honoring their boundaries. Each of these moments adds up slowly, but the trust they build runs remarkably deep. Picture the last time your cat watched you from the hallway instead of walking away. That was a choice. Small, quiet, and completely deliberate. One day, without even realizing it, your cat will choose your lap over every other comfortable place in the house. That moment wasn't created that day. It was built by hundreds of tiny decisions you made long before it ever happened. This is really the heart of what makes cats such fascinating companions. They aren't aloof. They aren't difficult. They're honest, consistent communicators who simply operate by their own quiet code. The more fluent you become in that code, the more willingly they choose to spend their time with you, not because they have to, but because they genuinely want to. So the next time your cat blinks slowly at you from across the room, or waits patiently by their bowl at the same time every evening, you'll understand exactly what's happening. You're not dealing with a mysterious creature. You're dealing with a companion who has been speaking clearly the entire time, waiting for you to finally listen. And once you start recognizing these signals, you'll notice something else. Cats have subtle ways of telling you when they trust you completely. Signs so quiet that most owners go their entire lives without ever spotting them.